several people here.
Thank you, Brian. I'm John Pecan. I'm with the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. I'm the Environmental Project Manager responsible for the NEPA review of this project. Later, I'd be happy to say a few words after your presentation, Brian, a little bit about the process, and I'll be here, obviously, for a while to answer questions. So, thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, let's get right into it. You guys can flip the page. I'll tell you a little bit about the East Side Expansion Project overall. Basically, what we're trying to do is expand our pipeline to meet the needs of the market. We're taking natural gas supplies to the Northeast and Middle Atlantic markets. The scope of this project includes 310,000 decatherms of additional capacity, estimated at roughly $211 million. It includes pipeline looping, compression, which is what we're here to talk about today, and also pipeline interconnects. We've got several different customers from the LDCs, the marketers, and the producers. So we've got a wide gamut there of customers associated. And then the status, we have binding TAs with all of our customers. So we're fully scripted out for that with an in-service date of roughly September of 2015. So a little ways off. Moving next, I'll just talk a little bit about the timeline for the entire project. In February of 2013, we submitted for the pre-filing process and were accepted by the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. Draft resource reports 1 and 10, which is the initial scoping, and then any alternatives we've looked at, were submitted in March. The outreach strategy and process has been going on since, it says here March, April. We actually started before that a little bit as well, and that's continuing. One of those examples is why we're here today to discuss the compression project. In May, submit draft resource reports 2 through 9. The remainder of the draft resource reports will be submitted in May and June. In August, we plan on filing the application with FERC for the project. So right now we're in the pre-filing process. This is where we gather the input from the landowners, from the public. We look at alternatives, do whatever we can to get as much input as we can into the project. We get that, we curtail that, we work with the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission and their issues and concerns as well, and then we file in August. And that process will go from roughly August to June of 2014, somewhere in that time. It's expected to. Late November 2014, we would start clearing right-of-way on some of the pipeline segments. Does not affect anything associated with Milford itself, but we will start clearing in there. And then roughly, when it gets a little warmer and the snow's melted, we would start the work on the compressor station itself. That's the current schedule as it stands now, with an in-service date of September 2015. That being said, to talk specifically about the Milford Compressor Station, I'll let Jason Hamill, our engineer, who's been heavily involved with this, take over.
Okay, so I'll just start with kind of the general location, 216 Fire Tower Road, Milford, PA. Right now it serves as lateral compression from the Tennessee Gas Pipeline into line 1278 Columbia Gases System. Current compression there is 2 integral reciprocating units totaling about 680 horsepower. The first unit in the station was in service in 1956. The second unit was installed and in service in 1969. So as part of the incremental capacity, to be able to deliver and compress the incremental capacity, we have to upgrade the station to both do lateral compression as it currently is and also mainline compression. Flip over to the next page and we'll kind of get into some of the basic kind of scope of work. So we're going to replace the existing reciprocating compressor units with turbine-driven centrifugal units. So it's kind of a Solar is the manufacturer. That's kind of who we standardize on throughout our company, Solar turbines. proposed station horsepower is around 6,600 horsepower. We're also going to replace existing interconnect piping because it's not large enough to be able to push the incremental gas to the system. It's roughly 1,000 foot between Tennessee Gas Pipeline and line 1278, Columbia Gas's pipeline. Also, all the station piping will have to be replaced to support the incremental capacity. And also, with the newer units, we have to install auxiliary systems that can support air compressors, generators, emergency generators. Also, the office warehouse building, the whole facility layout kind of is changed with the new horsepower. We'll kind of get into kind of the layout later. Concerning noise, the station will meet all federal regulatory, Energy Regulatory Commission regulations for noise requirements, not exceed 55 dBA of a day-night average at the nearest noise-sensitive area. So that'd be houses, churches, different things like that. Currently, we're still in the early phases of the design process. We're currently conducting noise surveys at the station. The proposed schedule, again, as Brian mentioned, kind of start early spring 2015 construction, finish in the fall of 2015. So if we flip over to the next page, and it's a little difficult to read, but here's just an aerial view of the existing Milford Compressor Station. As you can see, we're interconnected with Tennessee Gas Pipeline, and there's about 1,000 foot, 700 foot going to the station where it ties into the compressor station. And then we have another 300 foot that goes across Fire Tower Road to a valve setting that ties into line 1278 or the Columbia Gas's pipeline. And Milford's really historically been taking gas from Tennessee Gas Pipeline, compressing it, and then delivering into Columbia Gas Pipeline. So the scope of work, there's a compressor building kind of centralized in the station that will be replaced, demoed and replaced. Also, the existing office building will have to be demoed and replaced. The interconnect piping, as mentioned before, the interconnect piping between TGP and Columbia Gas Pipeline will have to be replaced. And also, I think that's it. And there's a small regulator station that's existing at the station, but that will not want to be used once we replace the piping. If we flip over to the next page, page 7, this is kind of just a general proposed layout of what Milford will look like in the future. As you can see, kind of centralized in the facility. Everything is within the, most of it's within the existing fence line as much as possible. The compressor building will house two 3,300 horsepower Solar Centaur 40 turbine units. Also, all the station piping, as you can see, is drastically different. There's natural gas coolers, gas filtration, station piping will be upgraded, and also the auxiliary office and equipment building will be kind of like one larger building to house just the operations and control center for the station. Also, it'll have the auxiliary systems, battery systems, and emergency generators, and also a small warehouse for parts and stuff like that for the maintenance of the units. That's kind of all.
Can you clarify our footprint, kind of, so the station's going to grow, it's going to be bigger, but it still remains within our same footprint, is that correct?
Yes, right now we're